What Ike Allen and Andy Anderson have created at AVAIYA is what the world needs.
Hello, AVAIYA family. I'm Andy Anderson. My partner, Ike Allen, and I are teachers, mentors, and the co-owners of AVAIYA University. AVAIYA is the creator of over 1,000 books, films, courses, teachings, and other supportive resources. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our fellow teacher, Wendy Sterling, is back with us today to talk about how theta healing helped free me from my narcissistic ex and heal my soul. Wendy is a divorce coach, life transition specialist, author, and founder of The Divorce Rehab. She helps newly divorced men and women who are having trouble moving forward and tired of feeling stuck, pain, fear, resentment, anger, and guilt to find joy, self-worth, and freedom. Welcome back to AVAIYA, Wendy.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you back. And why don't we get started? Just a little background on you. It's been a while since you've been with us at AVAIYA. So could you share a little bit about how you got into the work that you do today?
Absolutely. So I believe that divorce can be the most empowering experience that we go through to find and reclaim our voice and identity so that we all get to start creating a life that we choose instead of feeling stuck with the one that our ex left us with. And that was the gift and lesson that I learned almost 6 years ago when I discovered that my now ex-husband of almost 16 years was having an affair. And at the time I had been working in corporate for almost 2 decades. We have 2 amazing boys. My ex-husband also is, a lucrative attorney, and I thought we were living this perfect life. So you can imagine that in this moment, all of a sudden, I felt a punch in my gut like never before. And I now have come to realize that that was my intuition telling me that something was not right. And I realized that one night as we were driving home from a couple's night out, and that night forever changed the trajectory. And for many of your listeners and students, I'm about to say something that you may not believe, but it's the God honest truth. It was the best gift that he could have ever done, because I am truly now standing here living my best life. And that was because my intuition gave me that gut punch and really enabled me to wake up and see that I had been in a trance for so long and had completely forgotten who I was, what I liked, just the reflection staring back at me. All of a sudden, I finally saw my own reflection instead of constantly seeking my now ex-husband's confirmation or for him to reflect back to me who it is that I was. And it was a pattern that I recognized had happened since I was a little girl. And so it was that moment that I realized that I could break free from all of these patterns that I had perpetuated, including marrying a man who has narcissistic characteristics. And so I set out on a journey to really discover who I was. And along that path, not only did I discover the world of life coaching, I also discovered energy healing, the power of theta, and it enabled me to really heal in a faster way than had I not done anything, or really honestly just stayed in therapy by itself. And that was specific to me. And so what I ended up doing was leaving corporate and starting my own business, which is the Divorce Rehab, about, 5 years ago now. And what it really helps me to do with how I support my clients is I essentially take them through the same steps that I took, because there wasn't just one thing that worked. It was all these different elements that helped me to move through and accelerate my healing process. And so now I make that a lot easier for everybody else. I've done the work. I've done the work for you. And so that is really how I got to where I am today, because, I not only filed for divorce, I also left my career, started my business, and here I am today living my best life, 6 years on the other side. And, my ex and I did not like each other, and now we have an amazing co-parenting relationship. So I always say anything is possible. Just because things are the way they are right now doesn't mean that that's how they're going to be in the future. So that is my long, short story.
Well, thank you so much for sharing about that, Wendy. And I love that you mentioned the last part too, that you have a good relationship co-parenting. That definitely casts a vision for people who are in that same boat right now and are not seeing it as ever becoming, a good relationship on that level. You mentioned the energy healing and you mentioned theta. So I'm curious, what is theta healing?
Yes, I get this question a lot. So I want to spell it. It's THETA. It is theta healing. And essentially what theta healing is it is a healing methodology that was founded by a woman named Viana Stibble. And it really is a technique that focuses on thought and prayer. And I had done Reiki. I had done other modalities of energy healing with chakra work, but nothing really worked the same way that theta did for me. And the reason being is that theta healing is really, it's a meditation technique. You go into the theta brainwave state. And it is really the place where a lot of hypnotists will go into. It's where hypnosis takes place. And what the purpose of theta healing is that it's really all about connecting with Creator. Now, there is absolutely no religious affiliation at all. In fact, theta healing is welcoming of all religions. But what happens is your theta healing, me as a theta healing professional, is that we go into this brainwave state with our clients to help connect with Creator and command Creator to make shifts in beliefs, shifts in feelings, and it's really instantaneous. And that was the thing that was such a game changer for me. Perhaps people that are listening can understand what I'm about to say, which is that when my ex-husband and I when we separated, I could physically feel him, like energetically, anytime he was in my presence, even when he wasn't in my presence. And I didn't purposefully wear a spaghetti strap dress today for this reason, but your listeners, everyone who's watching can see I have this scar on my chest. And this was melanoma. And I'm healed and I'm fine, thank God. But what was interesting is that I could feel him right here. And I had been told by a few different energy healers that this was like a sword wound of my ex-husband, basically breaking my heart multiple times in past lives. And this is where I felt him. And I mean, I'm telling you, I did Reiki as often as I could because I could feel the release, but it always came back. And it wasn't until I did theta healing that I finally physically felt him get off of me. There were times where he would drive up my driveway and drop off my kids. And I just got this overwhelming sense of darkness that was just coming over my body. I could feel him. I could also feel when he was potentially doing something, and so it really wasn't until I discovered how to do this methodology on myself after having had a theta healing expert work on me that I finally felt him. There is no energy connection whatsoever between him and I now. And honestly, that is a big reason why I'm able to co-parent, because I have no energetic, it's more than just emotional. I have no energetic attachment to him or what he does. Mm-hmm. And so by going into that theta state, it's that REM sleep state. It's a really, really deep relaxation. What I'm able to do is to work with my clients on a subconscious level to help them to really shift and change current beliefs that they have, and turn them into something else. And it doesn't just impact you, it also impacts your lineage back and forward. And so it's really, really powerful, because so many of us are like, oh my God, I don't want my kids to have to go through this, or I want this to stop with me. Well, theta for me and for my clients has been that tool that has enabled us to what I call end the cycle.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Thank you so much for sharing about that. That's fascinating, especially, when you're talking about your melanoma scar and that representation. And I bet you a lot of people can relate to that on some level, right? How we can connect the dots between some kind of physical representation and a trauma, or that connection with somebody that you just haven't broken yet. So what would you say is the connection between mind, body, and soul in the process of marriage as well as divorce?
Yeah, I don't know that I understood this really. I got married at 25. There was a lot I didn't understand. And as I've gone through and have done all of this hard work, what I've realized is that, I feel like we're taught that it's like, oh, it's mind over body. And to me, it's actually your soul. Well, let me say it this way. I believe that we are souls having a human experience. So the soul level is really where it is that we get to step into. So it's almost like not looking at ourselves as humans, but seeing ourselves as having a soul experience in a human body with a human mind, right? So a lot of times people say, oh, it's mind, body, soul. Well, to me, it's really soul, body, and mind. I, you know, we live on autopilot, and we also live in a world where we have been preconditioned to really see things or believe things to be a certain way. And one of the things that I have learned that, again, is something I also teach my clients is to start paying attention to your body. I just had a call last night with a client of mine where we talked a lot about understanding the difference between fear and intuition. And in order to understand the difference, it's about paying attention to your body, paying attention to, your soul is reacting, right, to an experience that's happening here. I believe because it is something that you experienced in a past life, where on this earth we are getting to do it differently. We're getting to learn a different lesson. And so, like, for example, for me, I had been cheated on by him in multiple past lives. And this is the one where I get to finally teach him a lesson, right? And for him in this life, it's realizing that you can't get away with that anymore. And so does he believe that? Couldn't tell you, don't care. It's about my experience. And so for me, I really had to start paying attention to when my body had a physical reaction to something, to anything, right? So whether that's him pulling onto my driveway, or when I'm having a conversation with him and something punches me that goes, he is lying to you again. It's about me paying attention to my body and then getting curious about it. Because what happens is typically we don't pay attention to that bodily instinct. And then our mind just starts telling stories based on past experience or other things that we have been through. And so what I have learned to do is to slow down the process. Instead of letting yourself just go on autopilot, it's like, wait a second. What is happening here? Where am I feeling this? What is going on? What are all the different possibilities? What do I know to be true? And there's just like these series of questions that you can ask yourself to slow down your mind and honestly to retrain it to think differently, because that ultimately, right, that last piece of your mind is the part that is, honestly, it's the trickiest